Welcome to a very special episode of UTB Blogcast. You guys have those after-school specials up there?
But of course.
We used to.
Yeah, I don't think we do anymore either. This is all on one topic, and it's a topic that is really all over the news, and I'm pretty irate about. Yesterday, a federal judge ordered Apple to help in unlocking one of the iPhones, or an iPhone found that was used by one of the terrorists that did the San Bernardino shootings. Today, Tim Cook put out an open letter response, and we basically just want to look at that. We want to look at that, and we want to look at the actual court documents, what was ordered of them versus what Tim Cook is saying has been ordered of them.
And just so you know, Brad's a little pissed off.
Just a little.
Just saying.
A wee bit.
I'm irate over the ordeal. I honestly figured that they would come back with some sort of response, pushing the limit, seeing what they could do. I had no idea that Tim Cook would change the argument entirely. They're ordered to open one phone, and there's a very valid reason for that. And Tim Cook is instead trying to drag this out and change the argument altogether into an argument that's going to take a long time. You know, it's like I said it earlier today. It's an argument that the American people need to have. We need to decide what is a valid case for getting into people's personal devices. This is something that needs to be discussed. This isn't the time.
Well, I'd like to qualify that and say that it's not necessarily a personal device. I believe that iPhone, if I'm not mistaken, was handed out to this person by the San Bernardino is it the
Department of Health, I think.
Yeah, Department of Health. That is a corporate phone.
It's a corporate phone owned by, right, like we said, I believe it's the Department of Health, who's given permission to access the phone. There's a warrant to access the phone, and Apple is not wanting to access the phone, and it is instead wanting to talk about if they should be required to do this. And well, let's just look at the letter. Should we look at the letter?
Yeah, there's 26 of them. Which one is it?
Yeah. I'm in no mood tonight, Dave. No mood.
Come on, I made you laugh. Let's go.
Do we want to read the whole thing? We've got it on the site to go straight to the Apple page and look at it. Right off the bat, he says, this moment calls for public discussion. We want our customers and people around the country to understand what is at stake. Personally, I don't believe this moment calls for public discussion. I do think public discussion needs to take place over encryption in general, over our rights to privacy, and device manufacturers' responsibility of that. I think that's an argument for a different day. I don't think that has anything to do with what's going on right now. There are a few things I wanted to point out. If you guys had anything you wanted to jump on within the letter, please do, because I don't want to just sit here and listen to my angry voice tonight.
No worries.
I got several. Geez, where do I start? It's not just Cook, but even the supporters using this whole slippery slope argument. That's basically what they call it, the straw man fallacy. I mean, the court is very specific that they're ordering Apple to write a piece of code that will be uploaded into the firmware so they could unload that particular one.
Bartron, before we get into that, let's look at oh, look, my cat. Nice. Let's look at what he's saying, and then let's go ahead and look at the actual documents. You know, let me go ahead. Let me just read this section from the letter where he talks about the San Bernardino case. Let's see. He highlights the San Bernardino case. We are shocked and outraged by the deadly act of terrorism in San Bernardino last December. We mourn the loss of life and want justice for all those whose lives were affected. The FBI asked us to help in the days following the attack, and we have worked hard to support the government's efforts to solve this horrible crime. We have no sympathy for the terrorists. When the FBI has requested data that's in our possession, we have provided it. Apple complies with valid subpoenas and search warrants, as we have in the San Bernardino case. We have also made Apple engineers available to advise the FBI, and we've offered our best ideas on a number of investigative options at their disposal. We have great respect for the professionals at the FBI, and we believe their intentions are good up to this point. Up to this point, we have done everything that is both within our power and within the law to help them. But now the U.S. government has asked us for something we simply do not have and something we consider too dangerous to create. That line right there, I want to come back to that. They have asked us to build a backdoor to the iPhone. Specifically, the FBI wants us to make a new version of the iPhone operating system, circumventing several important security features, and install it on the iPhone recovered during the investigation. In the wrong hands, this software, which does not exist today, would have the potential to unlock any iPhone in someone's physical possession. Different words to describe building a version of iOS that bypasses security in this way would undeniably create a backdoor. And while the government may argue that its use would be limited to this case, there is no way to guarantee such control. Now on to what you were talking about, Bartron. If we look at the actual court order, they're very plain in what they're asking Apple to do.
Yeah, and you look at
they want Apple to offer reasonable technical assistance shall accomplish the following three important functions. It will bypass or disable the auto erase function whether or not it has been enabled, because we don't know if the terrorist enabled that function on the device before it was locked. 2, it will enable the FBI to submit passcodes to the subject device for testing electronically via the physical device ports, Bluetooth, blah, blah, blah. So what they're basically wanting to do is to be able to brute force this phone open.
Yeah, they want Apple to create a tool that could be installed via a firmware update, not an operating system update, a firmware update. And that will allow, disable some or circumvent certain security features. But well, let's go back to Apple's, now we go back to Cook's letter, and here he says, here, right after that section you just ended, he says, the government suggests this tool could only be used once on one phone, but that's simply not true. Once created, the technique, right? The government's asking about a tool, and here's Cook saying, oh, we can't do that because the technique can be used over and over again. Well, you know, that's, he's basically comparing apples to oranges. Starts talking about the tool and then goes over to the technique. Well, yeah, the technique. I mean, hacking techniques. A lot of techniques that are still used that could be used for good and bad. It's just silly. It's just silly. He's just avoiding it. He's not even refuting this idea that the tool could only be used once. He's not refuting it at all. He's just switching over to talking about technique.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody believes for a second that this is impossible or even difficult to do. How many times have we brought up a dropout Jeep scenario, which came from, you know, was kind of exposed in 2013, late in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. So he's just wanting it to appear like it's hard or impossible, when in actual fact I don't think it is. And I think that whatever is required to be done to this one single phone could be done in such a secure way, maybe even at Apple's secure location somewhere, so that they handle this technique, which probably takes 10 minutes to do, and doesn't have to be let out, of their facility in any way, shape, or form. There's no way that that corporation should be above the law. This is possible, and it should happen. The guy is dead. You're not protecting any person's privacy. It was a sick act, and it's a corporately owned phone. And the law has spoken, you need to do this, you will do this, and he's saying no? Who the hell are you, dude? Who are you?
And on top of that, the software, the tool we'll call it, will basically exist in two places. On the phone, which is the FBI is going to keep, presumably, as evidence, and at Apple, somewhere on a server. How is it going to get out? If given that people, including Apple supporters, have raved about how great the security is at Apple's facilities, how will that tool get out?
Right.
He's stating flat out in his letter that they're asking for a backdoor that they can use on all phones. And this is what people are ranting about. If you look at Twitter, all of his little followers are saying this is for everything. They're getting a backdoor. That's what they want. All it takes is 2 minutes to search for the document, which is added to on our post now. And it says right here that the and will not modify the iOS on the actual phone. The SIF will be coded by Apple with a unique identifier of the phone that the SIF would only be able to load and execute on the subject device. They're asking for a one-time thing. I mean, in all honesty, he's stating that this is going to create a precedent, and what precedent is this going to create? Something that's been done forever. The scary precedent that's taking place right now is that Apple has chosen to do something where they cannot comply with the laws of the United States. That's the scary precedent, that there's a company that thinks they are above the law and can do this. This is what people need to understand. One of our readers put the greatest comment ever on earlier this morning, and he brought up the fact that lawyers, priests, therapists, everybody have these privacy rules that they must stick to, client professional privileges. But in a case of a crime, that's bypassed. When you're looking at public safety, that is bypassed, and there's no issue with that. It's always been the case. If we want to go back to landline phones, there was wiretapping. There's always been a case where the police have access when they need access. This is the first time where you've got the most profitable company in America, or any for that matter, stating that we're going to create something that you can't have access to. And now he's trying to make it like it's a human rights issue that we've never had before.
Yeah, and I don't even believe that. I don't believe it's impossible.
It's being taken. The possible versus impossible, that's not even the case. I don't think anybody believes that it's impossible. What he's doing is they keep bringing up this all writs law. And the way he does it, now I'm getting myself lost on my computer here, guys. I'm pretty pissed. The FBI is proposing an unprecedented use of the All Writs Act of 1789, and I keep reading this. I read this on Ars Technica and all these different sites where they're like, look at this, they're bringing up a law from 1789. Like it's insane to bring up a law that's old. Look at the law. All that law does is give lower courts the right to make a court order. That's it. Established by act of Congress may issue all writs necessary or appropriate in aid of their respective jurisdictions and agreeable to the usages and principles of law. An alternative writ or rule nisi, I know I'm saying that wrong, may be issued by a justice or judge of a court which has jurisdiction. That's the law. All it is giving the courts a right to make a court order. It's not some old law that's been on the books forever that should be repealed and is telling you that you can't walk your donkey down Main Street at noon. You know, it's not one of those laws. It is the law that gives these courts the right to make a court order.
And it's something that has to stand up. I don't know who this person thinks he is or what he thinks he's protecting, but it's ridiculous to be told by the court in the land that you're living that you have to comply with something, and you just get to sit there and say no. Everybody knows it's possible you can do it, and you're going to say no. Why? Because it shaves $1 off your stock price, or what? What are you protecting besides the dick that did this?
We know exactly. I mean, common sense tells us exactly what's happened. We go back a year, 2 years. There's Dropout Jeep. There was the backdoors in the iPhones. There's been the fappening where people's personal photos, celebrities' personal photos were leaked out. Which actually, let me stop right there. What the FBI is asking them to do is make this one single iPhone work exactly like their iCloud. They want this iPhone to be capable of being brute force attacked. During the fappening, when the iCloud accounts of these celebrities were brute force attacked and all of their naked pictures were released to the public, Tim Cook's response to that was, there's no error in our security. Our security worked exactly the way it's supposed to. So there was no issue. Tim Cook had absolutely zero issue with brute force attacks when, you know, celebrity ABC had her naked breasts shown all over the internet. But now, this is exactly what it is. This is them trying to correct their reputation. They took a lot of hits. They took a lot of hits that an average logical person, I'm not talking about an iPhone user, but an average logical person would not accept. And now they're trying to erase that away by saying we have the best security possible. It's so secure we don't even have the keys to it. Well, now there's a case, and there's going to be many more, and there were some before this, where that key is needed. And Apple's saying that they don't have it. No one else has done this before. The leader in mobile security, BlackBerry, has always granted lawful access. Every other company has granted lawful access. This is the first company that is saying we're not going to do that. This is the scary precedent that's being set. The scary precedent isn't that the FBI is asking them to unlock this phone. What we should be frightened of is a company saying we're not going to abide by the laws of the land.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly right. It's pathetic, and it's selfish, and it's pompous.
And he gets worse in the letter. And you look right near the end, and he says, here, the implications of the government's demands are chilling. You know, if the government can use the All Writs Act to make it easier to unlock your iPhone, it would have the power to reach into anyone's device to capture the data. The government could extend this breach of privacy and demand that Apple build surveillance software to intercept your messages access your health records or financial data, track your location, or even access your phone's microphone or camera without your knowledge. Well, that already exists.
Yeah, drop
it's
out
existed
cheap.
for many years.
What's wrong with it?
Age since cell phones were created, there's been a tool to track your cell phone signal and locate you. That already exists. So it's unbelievable that you would actually pull that out. It's crazy.
What he's doing is preying on the fears of the people about the NSA.
He's exploiting the ignorant iPhone users.
Well, what's happened is, I think every one of us have always been welcome to the fact that if there is a crime, if there is a warrant, the authorities should be able to get information on that. That's there to protect us. That was exploited, and that was overused, and that was abused by the NSA. We know the whole Edward Snowden thing, where they were not just going after criminals, they were spying on all of us. They were getting as much information as they could. And the public is upset about that, rightfully so. That's not what's taking place here. This is a crime. No, this is a terrorist activity.
And that's the thing.
People were murdered, families destroyed, and they want to ensure that there's not something else going on with it.
And we're not talking, that's another thing, we're not talking about accessing the phone of an average user or even a suspect that they believe may have committed a crime or may be committing crime. We're talking about people who actually committed crimes. I mean, these people are known terrorists. They killed a bunch of people. It's they're not suspects, and that's the thing. I mean, it's just unbelievable that Apple would take that path, and it angers me.
It's astonishing. This human filth died in a hail of bullets, and he deserved every piece of that and some more. And so he's his punishment was lead, and there, like you say, there's no question, and it's a corporately owned phone. We're not talking about invading Granny Smith's privacy here. That's not it at all. So get off your high horse and comply with the law, and quit being such a pompous idiot, and give up the key that everybody knows is there. Don't bullshit us.
It's worse, as you said earlier, you guys, that San Bernardino Health, or basically the owner of the phone, has given permission to access it. So what? Let's say I own an iPhone and I tell you, okay, I don't remember the password, but I give you permission to crack it. Apple says no. Who the hell are they to tell me? I own the damn phone, not Apple.
Right. Exactly. Just do it. Shut up and do it. Move on. It's some of the worst pompous statements I've heard from any organization. Some guy gets even suspicion of having child porn on his hard drive or something. Well, guess what? Warrant issued, house entered, computer taken, hard drive removed, forensics done. You're guilty or you're not. That's what this is. Only it's for a much worse reason, a much worse crime.
The Google CEO has weighed in on it. He made an odd statement, an odd way of doing it. He did it via Twitter, via a 5-part tweet, which made me laugh. It completely made me laugh, because this is how things are being twisted. This is another powerful company jumping in, putting their name in there. Important post by Tim Cook: forcing companies to enable hacking could compromise users' privacy. We know that law enforcement and intelligence agencies face significant challenges in protecting the public against crime and terrorism. We build secure products to keep your information safe, and we give law enforcement access to data based on valid legal orders. But that's wholly different than requiring companies to enable hacking of a customer device and data. Could be a troublesome precedent. Looking forward to thoughtful and open discussion on this important issue. He just defeated his own statement.
Yep.
Here's the issue. We build secure products and we keep your information safe, which makes me laugh anyway. You know, that I guess safe from everybody but advertisers. And we give law enforcement access to data based on valid legal orders, but that's wholly different than requiring companies to enable hacking. They would not need to enable hacking if they were following the same procedures as every other company out there. They're saying, oops, we can't get in. You know, Google provides lawful access. BlackBerry provides lawful access. Microsoft provides lawful access. And if there's a case where, oh, let's see, if BlackBerry doesn't care for the terms of lawful access, like that country has a weird set of laws where they believe lawful access should be unfettered use of BlackBerry servers, BlackBerry leaves. Pakistan, anyone?
Yep. Exactly.
India? So if Apple doesn't want to abide by American laws and American lawful access laws, leave. Go to Ireland, where your home base is, apparently, right?
Well, they don't want to abide by America's tax laws either.
Yeah. There's a... I was just told Bambino says that we should reach out to John Chen and ask his take on the issue. I really think we've already got that. But before this all erupted, John Chen made that blog post on Inside BlackBerry where he spoke about lawful access, what is provided, and how they will give lawful access, and how that's not a backdoor into the phone. It's not unfettered access into our private and personal lives. It is helping authorities investigate crimes. It is making the world a better place. It's not making a device that for criminals. I mean, in all honesty, this is a wet dream for a terrorist right now. This would be the time to go out and buy yourself a rose gold iPhone before you strap on your explosive vest.
Yeah.
I'm just reading, got a link here. Someone in the group posted a link titled to an article titled, Apple unlocked iPhones for the feds 70 times before. The 2015 court case shows that the tech giant has been willing to play ball with the government before and is only stopping now because it might, quote, tarnish the Apple brand.
Yeah, that was what I was suggesting. That's what I was suggesting before. Okay. What's he going to do? Shave a buck off your freaking stock price? Give it up. It's all wrong.
This is on thedailybeast.com. Article written by Shane Harris, posted, I guess, that would be today? Yeah, today. Huh.
You know, I want to read a really long comment from membership on our post, but while I find that, speaking of unlocking Apple devices with a court order, Dave, we were talking before about the widow.
Right.
Did you want to?
Well, I think it was last month that, unfortunately, this widow was not too far away from me, I think Bartron said, in Victoria. She's on Vancouver Island, not too far away, named Peggy Bush, and she lost her husband. And apparently she knew how to get into the device, but didn't know the password to the actual Apple ID. And to make a long story somewhat short, Apple, I think they initially refused to assist, and then they said that they'd need her husband's death certificate, last will and death certificate, and then they'd help. And then that never happened, and finally they demanded a court order, if you can imagine. I mean, this is how pompous these people are. And it took, I think, this going public for Apple to comply and say that they'd help out and take care of the issue. So at what point do you start to or stop believing in what these people say, depending on the situation? Maybe if it makes me look good, I'll say, okay, I'll help out. I mean, is that what it is? You know, as far as I'm concerned, I think what would make Apple look good is if they complied and did it quickly and came out with a statement, something to the effect of, this is not a normal thing, and they don't have to say it, but just like BlackBerry, you know, we will help out in a situation like this with a proper court order, and we will give you the information that we have. Even BlackBerry says that they can't give you whatever you want. They can give you metadata and certain other information like who sent a message to who, but not necessarily what was the content of a message. But the point is about allowing access and assisting in a horrific crime, instead of just sitting on your throne and saying, no, I can't, which is, of course, ridiculous. Vis-a-vis the 70 people that you know, the 70 cases that they did this already. It's ridiculous.
And just to add to that story about that old lady in Victoria, they actually spent months going back and forth with Apple.
Right.
And the court order would have cost several hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on whether they need a lawyer or not. And of course, when they went to public and was with the CBC and they got a hold of Apple, and Apple said, oh, it was a, quote, misunderstanding.
Yeah. Well,
but even at that time, they refused to state what their official policy was.
Yeah.
And here's I think this is the reason why they refused to state it. They told her she needed a court order. Now there's a court order, and they're refusing to provide to the U.S. government. There's another case going on, I believe, on the East Coast, a convicted drug dealer, where they're trying to force them into his old iPhone. They're trying to get that unlocked, which doesn't have the encryption level that the new iOS has. And Apple's been fighting that. And the judge has been sitting on a ruling for that for, I believe, 3 months now. And just last week, Apple's lawyers sent a letter to the judge asking for a ruling. And we were speaking about this before. I think it's pretty obvious why. I mean, this is a drug dealer. He copped to it. He's sitting in jail right now. He admitted it. He pled guilty. Them opening this phone, what's the most it's really going to do? It's going to add a few more years to his sentence. So I think there's probably a fairly good case that the judge is going to just say it's not worth it and they don't have to open the phone. And if that would have happened 2 days ago, that would have given Apple a legal precedent to say, here's this case. Now we shouldn't have to open it for this one. And these are two entirely different things.
Yes, they are. In one case, in that drug dealer's case, I could see a lawyer, maybe, and I'm no lawyer, saying, you know, well, all you're doing is making this guy incriminate himself further. He's admitted to this thing, that's it, and it's over, you know. So, you know, but in this other case, you're talking about someone who's dead and gone and obviously guilty. There's no question. You don't even need to go to court about this. And now we need to go to court to help investigate whether there's more people involved in this, or who fed him with what, or how can we stop this from happening again, or something. It's completely a different thing. And for someone to stop that process That's the guy that should go to jail.
I said that earlier in group today in a moment of rage and anger. You know, if they're going to get into this phone, have no doubt that all that this is doing is prolonging it, and it's giving Apple a platform to make their argument, and it's giving them publicity, and it's making people that aren't really following it think that Apple's concerned about their privacy. Which, come on, guys.
Never have been. Never, ever have been. Never have been until it came to light, probably at the peak with the fappening deal.
Yeah.
And that was when they actually started talking about it and admitting things. Well, not admitting things, fixing things or changing things that they never would have done had that not happened. Never would have done it. Never cared.
Yeah, Apple's always been the slowest to issue security updates, fixes on their platforms. You know, I've been using a Mac since 2004, I think, or maybe 2005. Always dead last, well behind Microsoft and the Linux team. In some cases, there have been many reports where researchers who have discovered these flaws said they contacted Apple, and Apple just didn't do anything about it or ignored them.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you're saying, Dave, until the fappening. Once the celebrities, which you could argue are their core, among their core audience, customers, it's when that hit the fan that they actually started to go around, and Tim Cook did his tour of talk shows and that, talking about how they care so much about privacy, and basically just set himself up because now he's got a choice between violating privacy for a good cause or keeping his promise that they will fight the government on privacy, and he's choosing to not to stick to his word.
Well, you look at what the outcome of this is going to be. It's going to be that Tim Cook can sit there and say, we had the world's best encryption until the United States government broke it. So that gives them this bragging point, which is not justified, and it also gives them an excuse for future fails in their software. They can just blame it on the government, and that's exactly what he's doing. But what's bothering me is that this is something that might be timely. You know, there could be information on that phone about something else that could save lives.
I know.
Other terrorists.
Exactly. And instead of being a good neighbor and concerning himself with the lives of, I mean, we're not, but me, Tim Cook, the people that were tragically murdered by these two scumbag terrorists, we're all living in the same state. You know, we all pay the same state taxes. So I don't know, Tim Cook doesn't, but we're all neighbors, and he just doesn't care. You know, he's pretending to care about people's privacy while ignoring the fact that people's lives could literally be in danger, and he could have the keys to finding out about that.
Yeah, I don't get it. I'm all for privacy. That, you know, I'm all for that.
Well, that's true, Dave. I mean, that, like I said, that what he is trying to push us into is a conversation that we need to have. We here in America need to do it. I'm sure you guys in Canada need to do it. We need to determine what is okay and what's not okay as far as privacy. Is the NSA listening to everything that we say on our phones and devices okay? Of course it's not. Is it okay for Apple to say that no government, no authority can ever have access to your personal device? Of course it's not. Somewhere in the middle is a line that we all need to agree on. You know, and we, the voters, and we, the people, are the ones that's going to determine that line. Him sitting in his glass office is not the one that's going to determine that line.
No, and if he is, then just install him as president now. Never mind this election crap, because that's it. He obviously runs the world.
Yeah, he's taking a simple court order, and I mean, it's 3 pages. It's quite simple. That wouldn't have had to have happened had Apple continued following their same procedure. Actually, if they continued following their own procedure, anybody could have just walked in and taken it. But instead, they've created this issue. Get myself tongue-tied here. Let me read.
I think we lost. Did we lose Brad?
I think he's frozen. He might come back. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Apple
membership. Right? I hate my voice too, guys. I know you guys.
Now, Cook has a lot of balls talking like that, given that, in my opinion, he hasn't even been a good CEO. Now, you look at what has happened with Apple since he's taken over. You know, you have that huge stock drop of, 30%? From end of 2012 to well into 2013. He hasn't released a successful new product or service yet in 5 years. I think was it 5 years now? He's been. Everything is shrinking in the market share except for their notebooks, slowly increasing market share. Everything else is just going down. If it was a really successful CEO, maybe he could, talk tough like that, but he's not.
Yeah, I just think it's all.
Throw that in there.
I just think it's all built on a false foundation. Anyway, I don't believe that access cannot be granted. That's utter hooey. Don't believe it for a sec.
Oh, of course, they can definitely do that. They're simply choosing not to. They're using to. It's a PR stunt, is what it is. It's a PR stunt.
Yeah, I think so, and I don't see any way around him. In the end, not. And I don't want to use the term caving in. I think somehow it like Brad said, the phone is going to get accessed. It is. Mm-hmm. The government's not going to say, "Oh, okay, Tim, you say it's impossible. Okay, well, forget it then."
Yeah.
That's not going to happen, man. So just do it.
It's just an attempt to save, like you say. Yeah, it's an attempt to save face because of what he said in the past to fix the damage from the fappening, where he's going, we're pro-privacy and we're going to fight the government to protect your privacy and all that crap. And now here he is. He has to cave in. He has to violate the privacy because it's just the society is better off. Everybody is better off if he does. In this case, which means he now has to find a way to save face.
Yeah, to me, there's no privacy to be violated, man. The guy's dead. His pretend wife is dead, and
they didn't even own the phone.
And it's not their phone.
It's not even their phone.
You're violating. Just being an ass. It's ridiculous. So, Brad, are you there? Did you come back, man? I don't think so. Probably not. Oh, well. C'est la vie.
Well, I'm done for tonight. I don't want to get myself any more riled up because then I won't be able to sleep.
There you go.
I'll wait till Brad gets back.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I think it was a fairly astute gent in security was suggesting that it wouldn't take much, like maybe an afternoon or whatever, to make this all happen.
Yeah.
And obviously that's what needs to happen.
And the government, And the government's looks like the government said they're going to pay for it. And the court order did tell Apple to notify the court, or was the court or the government, how much it cost Apple to do this. Now, presumably they would do that so they could reimburse them.
Yeah.
What is ridiculous is that asking Apple to unlock a user's phone is no different than asking a locksmith to unlock a safe from a suspected terrorist.
Yeah.
Or sorry, at the work at the employer that the suspected terrorist worked for. It's not even the terrorist's safe. It's his employer's safe. An employer is saying, we lost the combination. So, but the FBI, you're free to pick the lock. So the FBI goes, gets the court order. Court says you're allowed to pick it, and that's basically what it is. And now the manufacturer of the safe or locksmith is saying, nope, we're not going to do that. That's a slippery slope. It's a violation of privacy. Nobody has any problems with the court ordering a locksmith to open a safe that's, let's say, was used by a terrorist, a known, proven terrorist. So why are they making such a big deal over a phone? They don't mind it when cops access their safety deposit box. You can be sure people have important stuff there.
Yeah. No, and once that job gets done, if it's a 4-digit code, that's 10,000 possibilities, and that'll take seconds for the right machine to figure out. If it was a 6-digit code, that's 1 million possibilities, and it'll just take a few minutes. So it's not difficult and it's not expensive, and the whole thing is unacceptable. So
and that's true. They're not even asking Apple to unlock the phone. They're asking Apple to remove the functionality that prevents brute force unlocking. The FBI will do that. The FBI will unlock it. They'll access the data. So it's really pathetic what Apple's doing.
Yeah, but I guess
Google and whoever else.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking we should shut this down because Brad's not here and he created it. So if he's not here, this is going to die by itself.
Yeah.
So we should probably sign off.
All right.
So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for letting us rant.
Yeah.
And we'll probably see you in a couple days on Friday night, same bat time, same bat channel.
Take care.
Night, everybody.